If you are working on a new project, changing your lifestyle, or trying to grow your own food, you are being crushed by a linear lie. We've been conditioned to believe that progress is a straight, linear line. That if you put in a fixed effort today, you'll see an exact visible return tomorrow. And when you don't see it, you probably assume that you're failing. Standard garden media loves to sell you the fantasy this time of year of pristine, effortlessly lush garden beds, perfectly green lawns, and rows of vegetables grown out of plastic. We've got plastic bags that the soil comes in, we've got plastic containers to grow them in, plastic plant markers. It's a consumer blueprint designed to keep you reliant on a retail supply chain. We sometimes live our lives by a rigid calendar, expecting change every single day of our lives, trying to force our systems to comply with a rigid textbook timeline. But this season, I noticed a pattern across my entire spring to summer timeline that completely shatters this baseline. For weeks after transplanting these mixed, chaotic planters, absolutely nothing happened. I walked out here every single morning with my camera and coffee in hand, checked the soil, and saw zero visible progress. The system looked completely stagnant. And then, in just a window of only 14 days, the landscape underwent a sudden, violent eruption. The rows quadrupled in size. The paths are vanishing. And the dirt transformed into an unshakable jungle of abundance. The dirt was no longer just dirt. I had revived the soil. The garden didn't gradually improve. It stalled and then erupted. When we hit that stagnant phase, our instinct is to run to the big box store to buy synthetic fertilizers and truckloads of plastic inputs to force the system to move. If you approach a landscape like this with a rigid textbook blueprint, the sun and the soil will break you before July. When you try to force progress before the system is ready by dumping heavy water and synthetic stimulants to stagnant soil, you collapse the soil porosity, you seal off the oxygen, and you drown the beneficial microbiology. You actively rot the roots before they even have a chance to scale. What's up, buddy? And this isn't just about losing a few corn rows. If you misread the quiet, stagnant phases of production, you aren't just wasting your money on retail quick fixes. You end up training yourself to abort your own systems before they even reach mass. When the real heat waves hit this ridge, a pampered, overstimulated system will collapse within 48 hours. If you want to survive another brutally hot summer, like I have here in the upper garden zones, you have to stop trying to engineer your way over the soil and start working with the energy mechanics. If you're a beginner, stop letting elite design dogma paralyze you. Seeds hold an ancient evolutionary blueprint. They want to live. Put them in the dirt and get out the way. I'm constantly scaling production on this land by repurposing raw materials that I already have. These old panels are now vertical solar inceptors, maximizing the square footage and shading the root zones below. We forgot that living ecosystems don't operate on a human clock because nature figured out a completely different way to track time. Plants don't necessarily track days, but they do calculate thermodynamics through something called growing degree days, the mathematical accumulation of heat and light frequencies within their cellular tissue. While the top of the plant looked frozen in May, the roots were running a silent, subterranean operation, establishing biological handshapes with the soil microbiology to trade carbon sugars for deep mineral access. When this environment hit that hidden data threshold, the floodgates suddenly opened. When the land hits its threshold and drops a massive wave of biomass all at once, you have to meet its velocity. True self-reliance is solidified in how you stabilize and process the yield. We are taking the land's complex chemistry. You know, the secondary metabolites and volatile oils synthesized during that sudden growth spurt, and slow dehydrating them at a controlled, low temperature to evaporate the moisture matrix while sealing the medicinal compounds into place. Airflow, shadow, grass, and glass are the exact tools our ancestors used for thousands and thousands of years to maintain their autonomy. Look at this pile. In a conventional system, this is labeled as waste. But waste is just a design flaw. It's an unallocated resource at your hands. These stems are packed with concentrated resins that naturally repel destructive insects. Compost happens. It is the absolute, unyielding law of biology. Death and decay are not failures. It's not the end of a system. It's the breakdown to start a brand new system. The structural momentum. Then we feed the byproducts back into our chaotic planters or our orchards. This ensures that today's processing waste becomes next spring's foundational fertility. We don't manage a static blueprint on this land. We manage an evolving system. The ultimate purpose of tracking this progress isn't just about understanding the biophysics of plants. It's about the human translation. You already have this exact code of accumulation inside of you. We live in a brutal culture that demands constant linear proof of your worth. It likes to tell you that if your business, your health, your autonomy isn't growing every single 24 hours, then you are stagnant. Or that you're failing. But I'm here to tell you that that is a machine-made lie. When you are breaking away from your corporate supply chain, changing your life, or building something real, you will endure long, quiet periods where it feels like nothing is really happening. You will feel completely stagnant. But trust the hidden data of your own timeline. You aren't failing, you're just in an accumulation phase. You are silently building your roots, running your tests, gathering the internal energy you need. Your environmental threshold will be met. And when it does, growth seems to come all at once. Understanding the land as accumulating energy is a lot more difficult to understand when you don't know the profound, often overlooked interconnections between us and soil through co-evolution. Before the next eruption happens, click on this video right here if you'd like to know more about the soil microbiome and our connection. Go ahead and build your loops, test your yields, and stop relying on a system that doesn't care if you're fed. See you next time. You collapse the soil porosity. You seal off the oceans. This guy loves garden chucks. It's hard for me to get any of those peas.